I'd like to welcome you to the Donnie Glover Show. We have one hell of a story for you today. We're going to be talking with an entrepreneur who comes from the streets of Baltimore. He's known in the East, he's known over West, right here at the Madison 801. Stay tuned for a powerful interview with Shareef.
Glover Show, BMoreNews.
Hi, my name is J. Wendell Gordon, the Warrior Lawyer. I have an office downtown Baltimore City. I practice in the area of criminal defense, personal injury, civil rights, and medical malpractice. If you need a good attorney, get Gordon on the phone. Thank you.
Donnie Glover Show, BMoreNews.
Okay, welcome back to the Donnie Glover Show. Listen, we try to bring you authentic interviews, real people from the streets of Baltimore. We want this show to bring you news, angles, perspectives that you won't hear anywhere else. We're joined today by the owner of the Madison 801, Shareef's Food Empire, and so much more, Big Brother Shareef. How you doing?
Real good, thank you.
Can I say salam alaikum to you?
Wa alaikum salam, yes, definitely.
And you just had Eid Mubarak. So
Yes, yeah.
For those who don't know, what's Eid Mubarak?
So Eid Mubarak is just a way of just saying happy Eid, pretty much. And Eid is one of the celebrations that the Muslims celebrate for the end of Ramadan.
Okay.
You know? Yeah.
How's fasting? 30 days of fasting.
Fasting is great. It's good. It's a mental thing. It's discipline, and it helps your body in more ways than people know. Everybody, oh, you gonna starve yourself? You know, it's helping your reproductive system, and it's helping your immune system kind of reset itself also, and it's giving your body chance enough to heal and digest a lot of those foods that we slam down, throughout the year. So it was a great process. I've been doing that for like the last almost 20 years now. So, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
So, about 2 months ago, I get a phone call from Joe Haskins of the Harbor Bank.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually helped us to do our first radio shows over 20 years ago at Radio 1, paid for my first show for 4 years. And so it was really odd to hear him after all of these years. And he pretty much sent me instructions to be over here at your grand opening.
Okay.
I had no idea about this place, but Black Bank, Black developer, Black restaurant.
Yes.
Tell us about the Madison 801.
Yeah, so I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Haskins a few years back, wonderful man, so this restaurant is a new restaurant. This was something that was kind of like, I was in Africa actually, and I got a call on the three-way from my wife, and she had one of the people from Harbor Bank on the phone, and I've been hearing about this guy, Germano. I've been hearing about him for a while, just in 3 or 4 conversations, his name has came up. So they would say he was the guy to meet. So he reached out to me. I think I was in Medina, and the reception wasn't that great, but anyway, we said, he told me he had an opportunity for me to check out a restaurant. Really it was a real estate play, to be honest, but I think they really associated me with the restaurant. I was more concerned about the real estate play. And
meaning you didn't want to rent, you wanted to own.
Yes, definitely. So I got back in town, I think in September the 4th. I met with them on September the 6th. He gave me a tour of the building. The upstairs has a beautiful 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, think it's about 1,700 square feet, apartment upstairs. This is a brand new state-of-the-art building. So they gave me the opportunity to, buy, lease, whatever I wanted to do. And I accepted, so that's how we wind up here. I got back here in September, October, November, so less than 90 days later, we was having our grand opening, well, soft opening. And then I think you came to the ribbon cutting, which was slated to be there 2 months earlier, but the weather had kind of postponed it, so we opened up, we opened up, when was the ribbon cutting, about 4 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, about 4 weeks ago, so that was nice. It was my first ribbon cutting, although it's,
How did that feel?
It felt great.
Because you play cool, Shareef. Come on now.
I mean,
do you ever get excited, like, oh man, in your private space, like, yes?
Not that much. It's not a lot that excites me, because I always gotta see it through and actually get there, because I've seen a lot of, deals. I had a lot of opportunities to, get some money and stuff like that, but I wanted to make sure that it was actually there before I actually get excited. You understand? So there was a few things I was excited about. This is one of them also. I was more excited because I had a chef that I had brought in with me to spearhead this project. I didn't want to be in here to be, creating recipes and cooking, so I hooked up with a guy, Chef Biggs, and he just wasn't ready. He's an exceptional chef. He's talented, but everybody's not ready for business. What I'm saying? It takes a while. But yeah. So I still wind up here. We have a great menu. We have a great staff. We're in our beginning stages, so we're still working things out. But I'm pretty much a systems guy. Like, I really operate off of systems. That's my thing. Like, I like to create systems where so, maybe after a year, I don't have to be involved in the process so much, so that's my thing. So we're still working on systems right now.
My son, we were down on Franklin Street.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you have a location, Curry Street.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him that we had you on the show, and he was just, you are an inspiration to people younger than you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that?
I would hope so.
A lot of them look up to you.
Yeah, I do try to motivate a lot of the younger people. I try to bring them in. I try to make them understand business. Anybody that knows me will tell you that, Shareef always talking to me about business. He's always trying to get me into business, because business, to me, is the way out. You understand what I'm saying? For a lot of us, who haven't really gotten to that point. It's a way out. It's a way to acquire wealth, and it's just and it's something that can leave a legacy. So I've worked for hundreds of people coming up in Baltimore City, and it was never fulfilling for me. It wasn't.
Could you ever be an employee again?
I doubt it. To be honest.
Of course not.
I don't believe so. I don't get that fulfillment out of it. You understand what I'm saying? And then nobody can really pay me the money that I'm really worth. I feel like, because whatever I do, I bring a lot of value to whatever I do, and that's how people become valuable. Is they bring value.
Yes, sir.
And people that doesn't bring much value, they pretty much don't have a lot. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't.
We're gonna come back on the other side. I gotta ask you about Africa.
Okay.
I gotta ask you about Saudi Arabia. You're watching the Donnie Glover Show. We're talking with Shareef right here at the Madison 801. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
At Fulton Bank, we're personally invested in every community we serve. So sometimes we're big in small ways, like finding a way to get Crystal and Dan a mortgage before the baby arrived. Other times we're small in big ways, like local decision-making and financial coaching that helped Fernando open his own shop. Fulton Bank, a community bank that's big and small in all the right ways.
Cover show, be more news. BMoreNews.
I'd like to welcome you back to the Donnie Glover Show. Okay, so we got a little taste of who Shareef is. Now, I wanted to ask you about Africa and Saudi Arabia, but before that, what was going on with your world? Before the business?
Before the business, I was trying to figure it out, just like everybody else. Grew up in Baltimore, East Baltimore, moved to West. Had, been locked up and got my GED when I was in jail. So when I came home, I didn't want to go back to school. So I came home 16 years old, had my GED, so I didn't have to go back to school. I was so happy.
Where you learn the raps at?
I learned the raps from in the feds. When I went in there, pretty much that was a thing that everybody would make raps. You know what I'm saying? And that's how the guys ate. So I learned how to make a rap, and it was real popular in the joint. So when I got home, I had experience working at the Cheesecake Factory and all of that. I had got a job with the city, and I was a CDL truck driver. And I wound up resigning from the city, and I had my last check from the city for $290, and I was just trying to figure out what I was going to do with the money, And I had lost everything. And I had this one check. I went up on them and cashed my check. Came back down Pennsylvania Avenue. And I see this girl outside. And she's outside selling food, on the corner, on the step. She's selling hot dogs and hamburgers and Italian ice. So I pull over. I get a burger, and it tastes so great. And then I got the Italian ice. I called my man. I say, "Where do you get this Italian ice?" He told me, "You need to go down Restaurant Depot. I got a card. You can come get it. And you can go down there." I spent my whole $290 down there. Bought some halal hot dogs, halal hamburgers, and I went up to.
And for those who don't know, halal is kosher or blessed.
Yes, it's
in
similar
Islam.
Yeah,
similar
definitely.
to kosher.
Yes, so I set up outside, and I sold out that day.
You remember how that felt?
It felt great. It felt great because I felt free. I didn't have to punch a clock anymore, and I was, I could go pray. I could do pretty much what I want, and I was still hustling, but legitly, I was just selling. I got the same thrill out of selling hot dogs and hamburgers as I got out of anything else. So the first time that I sold out, it was a great feeling.
Is hustling on the negative side addictive?
You know it is. Yes, it is. It can be.
Because every time when I was out there in the world, every time I went up in the hole 3 a.m., it was somebody slinging 3 a.m.
Yeah. Well,
and they had to stay there.
Yeah. Most guys, they get addicted to the lifestyle. And that's why they get caught, because they don't know how to stop, because, after you make a first million, why not stop? It's just that you don't want to get that slot up, you know what I'm saying? So it was pretty much the same thing,
Well, so your story reminds me of Malcolm X.
Okay.
I mean, because you did end up in, Medina, Mecca?
Yeah. Yes.
Been to Liberia, been to Tanzania. Was that also freedom? How did it feel in other countries? Did you feel
It was great. That was
whole?
So I just got my passport, and my best friend, Abdul Kareem, said, "Man, let's go." And I thought we had to wait for this. He said, "No, we're going to go." So I got my bag, and we made the reservation. We went to Medina, and we made Umrah. And I remember flying in to Jeddah, and catch a cab to Mecca, and I finally seen the Kaaba, and then we took a 3-hour drive to Medina and hung out with the Arabs, and I got to go visit the gravesite of the Prophet, and it was a beautiful feeling. Did
you ever imagine something like this ever before?
Not really, to be honest. It took me about 20 hours on the plane. Also, it was, flying over,
a lot of desert.
Yes, a lot of ocean. It was a great experience, though. You see people from all over. I mean, millions of people. You know what I mean? And it was just a beautiful thing. Alhamdulillah.
Africa, Tanzania.
Africa, Tanzania. So the first time I went to Saudi was in 2016, and then I went back in 2018 to make Hajj, the bigger of the pilgrimage. And I had the opportunity to go to Liberia first. I had married an African sister, and I took her back home. We stayed there for about 3 weeks, and it was beautiful. Oh my goodness, I love Africa. That's what my next destination is. I'm gonna be in Africa, but it was a great experience. They live off the land.
Humble people.
Very humble.
Grateful.
Super nice.
What could we learn as a society from Africans?
Tap into your resources. And don't really have to live extravagant. You can keep it inside your means. There's a lot of community there. And a lot of the Christians and Muslims, they interact together, as opposed to here, everybody's segregated. But it's just the humbleness, and fresh air, clean air, good food, clean food, not a whole bunch of stuff that's packaged and manufactured, what I mean? So I did learn, those things. And then I recently had the opportunity to go to Tanzania. And I have a friend, from here, he's there. And I had to, from Dar es Salaam, I had to catch a plane 2 hours away to go and visit him in Mpanda. And he has like maybe 200 acres, and he's just mining, So I stayed with him for 3 days, and he took me out to the mines on the dirt bikes, and I watched him blow up stuff and, and extract diamonds and, minerals out of the ground, And then I have another friend over there who owns about 8 acres of farm, what I'm saying? He had 2 acres of bananas. He's into agriculture real heavy. So those things excite me,
It excites me.
Yeah,
We're gonna come back with one more segment. We're talking with Shareef right here at the Madison 801 in historic East Baltimore. This is the Donnie Glover Show. Stay tuned.
Glover Show, BMoreNews. BMoreNews.
Hi, my name is J. Wendell Gordon, the Warrior Lawyer. I have an office downtown Baltimore City. I practice in the area of criminal defense, personal injury, civil rights, and medical malpractice. If you need a good attorney, get Gordon on the phone. Thank you.
Donnie Glover Show, BMoreNews. BMoreNews.
At Fulton Bank, we're personally invested in every community we serve. So sometimes we're big in small ways, like finding a way to get Crystal and Dan a mortgage before the baby arrived. Other times we're small in big ways, like local decision making and financial coaching that helped Fernando open his own shop. Fulton Bank, a community bank that's big and small in all the right ways.
Welcome back to the Donnie Glover Show. If you've been listening, you've heard about Africa, about Saudi Arabia, the Middle East, his faith, travel, growing up on the streets of Baltimore. Now let's talk some business. Okay, Shareef, you got some young people out here watching you. Any words of advice? Look in the camera somebody has a dream, a beauty salon, a driving school, or they want to do construction. Help us out.
Yeah. Well, I feel as though like right now, I bring all my children up into entrepreneurship. You know, all of my kids right now, they're in private school, and they actually are learning entrepreneurship through me. Like my oldest daughter, she's an entrepreneur. She's out in Atlanta doing her thing. My other kids, my 16-year-old, he graduates this year at 16, and he's going to Morgan. But I also want him to be an entrepreneur and study AI, you know, and understand that that's the new wave. We need to understand, you know, artificial intelligence. And my younger children, they're working for the company right now. I'm still out in Randallstown. They're working at Shareef's. None of them works in the Madison yet, but I always encourage, you know, them to, you know, follow their passion, you know, but also don't forget that you have to have a way to take care of yourself. So I always encourage them to understand finances, understand business, you know, and how to manage money, you know. So it's going to take some time, but, you know, that's what I get my thrill and my joy from. You know, I have a great passion for food. I have a great passion for business. You know, I love to set up systems. I love to put teams together, and I love to, you know, just help, you know, my fellow man, you know, to try to get what I had, because they say you're not a true believer until you want with your brother what you want for yourself, you know. So, and it's just a quote that I really like, you know, and that it really, you know, always sets in with me, and it says that hard times create strong men. You know, strong men create easy times. You know, easy times create weak men, and weak men create hard times, you know, and that always sets, you know, deep inside of me, because, you know, we came up in the 70s, you know, and it was hard times, you know, in the projects, and it seems like now everyone has money, but when you don't have anything and you have to work for something, you cherish it more. You know, understand what I'm saying? You appreciate it a lot more. So, you know, it'll sink in. If you listen to it, you'll understand exactly, you know, what it means. You know,
at your grand opening, you talked about, I think, living in Somerset, right?
Yes.
And you talked about where you could get a cup of coffee. I mean, a cup of sugar, a cup of flour, where neighbors help neighbors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I grew up in Somerset, and my mother would probably send me down the hall, and, you know, you had to go and borrow a cup of sugar from your neighbor, you know, whatever you needed, you know. You might even had to borrow, you know, $20 or a loaf of bread or whatever, and it was community back then.
We looked out for each other.
Yeah, we looked out for each other, you know, so it wasn't, you know, so a lot of those things aren't here today. You know, everybody's selfish. You know, if you borrow anything from anybody, they want to talk about you and stuff like that. So,
you know my favorite story?
What's that?
From you?
What's that?
Alfreda Robinson.
Oh, that's my girl.
I know she married, man. It wasn't like that. No, I've known her a good 15, 20 years. Why is she important to you? Why is it important to pay homage to Alfreda?
It's important for me to pay homage to her because she's an activist. You know, she's a great woman. She had did some time in federal prison. She was a school teacher, but her son caught a charge, and she didn't want to, you know, tell on him. So he told her to tell her. She said no, and she wound up doing time. But more importantly, like, she came home and she developed the National Women's Prison Project, which she helped out a lot of incarcerated parents, you know, not just women, but men also who had children that was incarcerated, and she would get them kids and she would take them and buy them gifts and take pictures and send them back into the prison. And that meant so much to me, you know, because you know, I actually got a package when I was on lockup from her, and I cried, you know what I'm saying? And so when I came home, she was the first one that I looked for, and I helped her actually continue what she had going on. I bought cameras and printers, and I supported her mission, and she helped support me also.
And you told me she's helped people all over the country, even people she does not know.
I think she was in Danbury, and she has women now that she's still connected to. She has this a nonprofit, and she's just, you know, she's a walking almanac. She has a wealth of knowledge, and she has a great heart. You know, she'll help anybody out, you know, not to mention that she's beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, so, and me and her son are real tight. Actually, her son gave me my Shahada, you know. back in '03. So that's how I became Muslim through David, alhamdulillah.
La ilaha illallah. Now you're not gonna let me get out of here. I don't want no trouble. We gotta mention the queen of the spot. I don't want no stuff.
Yes.
Tell me about Sydney.
My wife, she's another amazing woman. I think I said something at the thing. I said, if you want to invest in the black community, you have to invest in a black woman, because they the ones that started everything. We didn't have anything. We could go to mama and, we could go to these black women and they gave us the strength, the courage and everything that we need. And, so she's an amazing woman. I met Sydney probably about 8-9 years ago. She was working in the bank. And we had an interview. She could manage some of my properties, and I wound up offering her a job back in, I believe, 2017, and she's been with me ever since. And we wound up getting married a few years later, and she's been helping me grow the business, and she's very instrumental. She has a great heart, and she's very, very intelligent, and she's just a wonderful person.
Thank you for taking time to meet with us, man. Yeah. Thank you for taking time to come on and bless our show. And thank you for this wonderful, wonderful space, man. Is the upstairs, anybody living there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you were taking applications or not.
Yeah. Well, right now I have two tenants up there. Yeah.
Good deal. Yeah. Thank you, Shareef.
Thank you so much, Donnie. I appreciate it.
You've been watching the Donnie Glover Show. I'm excited. I hope you learned something. I hope it's been good for your soul. Special thank you to Ronnie Griffin, G. Grant Griffin Media, also Frank Johnson Media. Stay tuned. And do check out BMoreNews.com, the news before the news, where we uncover the truth.
At Fulton Bank, we're personally invested in every community we serve. So sometimes we're big in small ways, like finding a way to get Crystal and Dan a mortgage before the baby arrived. Other times, we're small in big ways, like local decision-making and financial coaching that helped Fernando open his own shop. Fulton Bank, a community bank that's big and small in all the right ways.
Hi, my name is J. Wendell Gordon, the Warrior Lawyer. I have an office downtown Baltimore City. I practice in the area of criminal defense, personal injury, civil rights, and medical malpractice. If you need a good attorney, get Gordon on the phone. Thank you.
Donnie Glover Show, BMoreNews.